Hey, how y'all doing? It's Greg. It's your boy Greg with another video. We're gonna probably post this on YouTube a little later. You know, haven't been posting that much. Just been kind of doing my own thing lately. But I just wanted to comment on a few things that's been going on. First and foremost, I want to talk about these YouTube personalities. These I shouldn't even say just YouTube, but just like social media personalities in general, man. I think it's great that people can like go on other people's platforms and talk about topics and debate each other. I think it could be so much. There could be so much good with that. People. I love it when people engage and they have healthy disagreements and or even just like even agreements where they just find out common ground with each other. Just co- just conversation with different personalities is interesting to kind of see sometimes. But I feel like it gets ruined when people argue in bad faith. And what I mean by that is, you know, there just seems to be a will. There just seems to be. It seems that some people are more. It is more important for some people to embarrass the other person or to make the other person look bad than to actually just let the conversation just naturally take its course. And if the other person ends up not knowing what they're talking about, then they just don't know what they're talking about. But it's just too much of people getting personal with each other, and like I said, if it doesn't come up as a natural part of the conversation, then it just doesn't make any sense to me to do that. But some people just like doing that, and I just think it's just really weird when you have a person on your YouTube channel or your whatever your social media platform is, and the only thing you're trying to do is just try to make people look bad or you're trying to embarrass them somehow. It just seems like what people would do in middle school, just like not have a good faith debate on a certain topic. They feel like they're uh, losing control of the conversation, so they immediately start personally attacking people. Like that's stupid to me. I mean, again, that's stuff that people did in middle school, high school. You know, you're starting a conversation about football, then all of a sudden you start making fun of the person personally. It's just why? Like when we started the thing talking about football, or we're talking about relationships, or we're talking about whatever. Why are you trying to attack the other person personally? Another thing I don't like is when people monitor the chats and they start like yelling at people in the chats for no reason. Like, and I don't like it for multiple reasons. One, I feel like you should have a strong enough subject matter where what people say in the chats don't really matter too much. I mean, I could see taking a couple comments and having it when somebody's commenting on the topic. Um, they can they when people are commenting on the topic and they add something to what you're saying, I could see bringing that conversation that into the forefront. But if people are just trolling or whatever, I don't understand why you can't just let them do what they do. They're there. I mean, maybe they're being stupid or whatever, but they're there. You're getting the views. You're getting the attention. So I just don't understand why just let the trolls be the trolls, and if somebody's actually adding to the conversation, bring them to the forefront. When you acknowledge the people who are actually engaging in what you're saying, I think that's how you kind of stop the trolls. You just let the trolls act like they're not even there, and I just don't like how people just kind of getting into it with the people in the chat, and they're like, "Oh, you're a loser, you're this, you're that, blah 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 blah." Okay, man, like if they're bothering you that much, why not just block them or get rid of them? And that's it. Like I don't understand why there's a need to just like try to embarrass people all the time. It just doesn't really make any sense to me. But unfortunately, people who do that, Seems like a lot of people who do that are very popular, you know, but I just don't get it. I just think it's stupid. I mean, just let them do what they want to do, stay on topic, and just appreciate the people that want to be there. That's what I would do. I'll probably never get big on this YouTube thing, but that's what I would do. So yeah, I just wish people would be more cordial with each other. But it just seems like in order to win these debates, you got to be all petty and talk all this nonsense or whatever. I want to tell you right now, if I ever get into a petty mode with somebody, more than likely they will have started it first. And if I ever start anything first with somebody, I hope my fans or whoever on the comments call me out on it so I can improve my behavior. But I hoped that I would never do something like that because it's just stupid to me, honestly. Um, but yeah, so a lot of things going on right now. We just had a presidential election. Trump is our new president. I voted for Trump in 2016. I voted for Trump in 2020. In 2024, I actually did not vote for him this time. I voted third party because um, look, I think Trump was a big part of the pro life movement in 2016. He went to rallies. He spoke out for life a lot in the public. Obviously, he overturned Roe v. Wade, sent it back to the states, which is definitely better than what it was for sure. So I'm happy for that. Obviously, he put in Supreme Court judges that made it possible for them to overturn Roe v. Wade. So I mean, like I said, I've said it more than once. Regardless of how I feel about him now, he's absolutely the best president that I have seen in my lifetime, and that probably will never change. I mean, outside even of the pro-life stuff, with the foreign wars and how he helped the economy and how he made an environment that people wanted to start businesses and stuff like that. He's the best president for sure. Um, it's just that a couple things that I just don't like that he did that kind of turned me off. Like I said, with the pro-life thing, uh, not seeming like he's gonna go after states that are so-called too strict on abortion. And I didn't like the fact that he didn't own up to the fact that those vaccines were poisonous, in my opinion. So I'm sorry if I'm gonna get censored for that, but that's just the truth of the matter. If I get censored for that, I'm sorry. But yeah, I think the vaccines were a problem, and he did not own up to Operation. What did he call it? Operation Warp Speed. Yeah, he didn't own up to that whole thing, and he thinks he saved like millions and millions of lives. I disagree with that. I think we would have been better off uh, without the without the vaccines, but he decided to do it, and a lot of people agree with him. But I think a lot of people kind of see things the way I've seen it. I think there's been a lot of people who are injured. There's a lot of lawsuits coming out right now about it, and like I said, he won't own up to it. And I think that's very, very strange. And I think that if we get another pandemic, I'm just kind of wondering what he's gonna, how he's gonna react to that. So, but I will say this: the first couple days after the election, it seems like things are going well. Uh, seems like people in different countries are trying to clean up their act as far as wars and everything like that. So that's good. But and it seems like the immigration caravans are starting to stop already because they already know that he's gonna basically kick them out anyway. Uh, so yeah, so far in those discussions, that's fine. But like I said, And I always said this as far as with the foreign wars. He may save lives with the wars, but that's counteracted by the fact that babies are dying in the womb. And I just think that, you know, those lives are just as important as any lives that die outside the womb. I'm coming from a biblical perspective, which I believe is a real life perspective. You know, I'm not somebody who believes just because a baby is not able to survive outside the womb that he is not alive and he's not growing and he's not a person. So those babies that die in the first trimester, I believe are lives that are lost, and I feel like those are lives that God cares about. And the fact that it seems like Trump and his wife don't really care about that anymore is a problem for me. You know, I don't consider they consider themselves having a common sense approach to abortion. I did not consider killing somebody because they were raped, uh, they had suffered incest or any of those type of things. The only acceptable excuse for an abortion to me is if the mother's life is in danger. And if the mother's life is in danger, the baby is usually dead already. They miscarried, or so that I don't even really count that as an abortion per se. Like that's just you know somebody who's suffered an unfortunate medical accident to the baby. That's not what I'm talking about. But as far as any other reason, just out of convenience for the mother, no, you should not be killing your child. A baby isn't not worth anything because you don't want to have it. And oh, it's alive and kicking when you actually want to have it. It just doesn't work that way. So we can pretend like those babies aren't dead or didn't get killed, but they did, and somebody's gonna be accountable for them at some point, whether it's here or whether it's in heaven. Somebody's gonna be accountable for those babies, and that's why I thank God that He is who He is, because, and this is including myself, nobody gets away with anything. So all my hidden sins or secret sins or any issues that I may have, I will have to give an account towards God according to my works, uh, like everybody else. And I also have to give an account to God according to who I believe in. You know, so I don't mean to get all preachy here, but you believe in Jesus Christ, you will be with Him in heaven. He will judge you off that. You don't believe in Jesus Christ, you will go to hell, and that's that. That's just that simple. And then I believe in a second judgment according to my works, based on how much I serve God and what did all the things He asked me to do. Would be how much I'll be blessed in heaven, because I've already believed in God, so I'm in heaven. But if my works aren't good, I won't be as blessed as the people whose works are better. So that's, and then same thing as far as people in hell. Some people suffer a lot more in hell. Everybody's going to suffer real bad, but some people are going to suffer a lot worse than other people because of what they've done here. So that's just how things are going to go. But getting back to what I was saying about Trump, that's the reason why I didn't vote for Trump. I'm still hoping he does good. I'm still rooting for him. I'm still hoping he does what's best for America. And I think other than that whole, like I said, pro-life and vaccine thing, I think he's going to do pretty good. I'm hoping he's going to do pretty good. I'm a little concerned about this, who's going to be in charge of our Senate, if it's Thune or if it's Cornyn. It's I don't think that's a good choice, and I'm gonna kind of think that it's gonna be uh, a lot like last time. But hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully whether they get in or not, these people will be for the betterment of the country, and they will pass the laws they need to pass, and not try to upset the upset progress. I hope that's what happens, but we will see. Um, to get on to something a little bit less serious, I want to talk a little sports. Uh, so I'm reading a lot of articles now that are finally talking about what I've been talking about for a minute. I hate to be that guy, like, oh, well, I've said something way before everybody else, but in this particular case, I think it is kind of true. I'm not saying other people didn't think it or say it, but I have been saying pretty much for, I would say, I don't know, 10 to 15 years at least, uh, that the game takes too many threes. Okay. The first time it happened was probably uh, Mike D'Antoni's Suns team when they got Steve Nash, maybe like in the mid 2000s. I think that was the first time where it was like, okay, they are taking a bunch of threes, but you know what? They were good at it. That made sense for that team. The way they played a small ball lineup. They played Amari Stoudemire at center, Sean Marion at the four, and they would play two guards and Steve Nash. Okay. Now I believe the first year that they had that type of small ball team, it was Joe Johnson at the two and Quentin Richardson at the three, or either way, they were the two wings, and Steve Nash was the point guard. So basically, you had a situation where everybody could shoot, other than maybe Amari, who was also a good mid range shooter. So the way they actually tried to play actually made sense because they were up and down and everybody could shoot. So they can they were so if somebody was open, it made sense that they were taking these type of shots. They were probably the best offense at that time. Steve Nash won a couple of MVPs. I mean, people try to be like, "Oh yeah, Steve Nash didn't deserve those MVP." Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I mean, I would have made an argument that if anybody got snubbed, it wasn't Shaq, it was Tim Duncan. But Steve Nash, if you remember those teams, he was the engine of those teams. It was similar to what Jason Kidd when he was with the Nets, and he spearheaded one of the best offense. He ran that offense to perfection. He barely turned the ball over. He was getting like double digits assists every night. Everybody was always in rhythm because he was just so good. Like, I mean, it was just a great thing to witness offensively. They were a terrible defensive team, but offensively they were as good as it gets. That was just problem is they couldn't stop anybody. So like when they would play like a team that was kind of on their level, they would stink. So, but anyway, that was like the first time like you saw like a team like hunting threes, like just as a complete team. It was Steve Nash, Joe Johnson, Quentin Richardson, Sean Marion, and then Amari Stoudemire. You'd have like four 3-point shooters. Well, I'd say maybe three and a half. Sean Marion wasn't like a big 3-point shooter. What you would see though is like he would mix it up. He would like be at the 3-point line, but he would also like cut off the baseline. So and he was a great slasher. So if he would slash and you would catch him in rhythm, he was dunking on you pretty much because he was just that type of guy. He was explosive in transition. So if they were running, he was running right by, running with Steve Nash, and him and Omari were getting easy dunks all the time. So I was just a really, really good offense. Um, so that was the first time I really saw that type of offense. But again, like that made sense. And then you would see, and then obviously with the Warriors, with Steph and Clay, again, Steph and Clay, and even that first few years, there was Harrison Barnes. They were great 3-point shooters. Everybody was like a great 3-point shooter on that team. Clay was one of the best of all time. Steph is obviously the best shooter of all time. And then when they first started winning, you had Harrison Barnes, And so you were getting like, so it's like, you had great 3 point shooters. So then Harrison Barnes leaves, and then KD comes in, and KD's a great shooter too. So I mean, it's like for that team, it made sense for them to play that way. But then after the Warriors, they started winning championships. Nobody could beat them. So it's like everybody decided, okay, we all got to shoot threes now. And just for like the last 10 to 15 years, you just, every team is just trying to shoot threes all the time. There's like no room for like guards who are really good in the mid range, good at getting to the basket. No, there's like barely anybody posting up anymore. And the game just completely south, in my opinion. It was different. Everybody's playing the same exact way. Everybody's kind of getting the same exact players. There's like no room for like different type of styles because we're rewarding teams an extra point for a certain type of shot. And so, you get into the analytics of things, and they're not wrong, man. Like, I mean, you can say whatever you want about the analytics. What's a good shot? What's a bad shot? They don't like mid-range shots. They don't like mid-range shots because not because they're not good shots, but because the three-point shot is worth more. And there's people who have shown that you can they can make it consistently. So they want those type of players. I totally understand where they're coming from. So it's unfortunate that they're doing it that way because, in my opinion, the best scorers are three-level scorers. They can get to the basket, they can shoot a mid-range, and if need be, they can shoot a three. And a three used to be an absolute last resort of like maybe you're happen to be outside the perimeter, shot clock is running down. You can't really get a good shot if you go to the rim. It's not enough time, so you just kind of pull up and shoot the three. There'll only be like a certain type of player who are like, okay, they're just like great 3 point shooters, so that's what we want them to shoot. Now everybody's trying to be like a great 3 point shooter, and it's just horrible for the game. And for the first time, this is the first time, 2024, where people are finally saying, and the ratings have been dropping for a while, but now people are really making it a point to like say, yeah, the game is different. It's really bad basketball. What do we do about it? It's something needs to change. But unfortunately, they won't do what is necessary to change it. Now, if it was me personally, you can eliminate this whole thing by just getting rid of the 3 point line. But if you don't want to get rid of the 3 point line, you have to let people guard people like they guard in the post. When people guard each other in the post, you're allowed to put your arm on them. You're allowed to crowd them. You're allowed to, get in their chest. They won't let you do that type of stuff on the perimeter. They won't let you get into these people's chest. They won't let you basically body up on dudes. They won't let you put their arm on them and hand check them. They will not let you do those type of things. And not only that, but when they actually try to shoot the jumper, they won't even let you challenge the shot. They make it so that not only is it hard to like, challenge the shot up in the air, but somehow you're like responsible for where you land after you shoot the shot. It's absolutely ridiculous, dude. It's just like, first of all, it's stupid because you're no one's forcing you to take a jump shot. If you want to jump and shoot a jump shot, that's your problem. I have to react to the fact that you're jumping, so I have to jump too. And as long as I don't hit you up top on the arm or something like that, where I land should not be of any consequence. I don't understand where, like, in these sports, they just expect you to do things that are just not possible, dude. They expect you to, like, be able to control your body when your body is committed to doing something already. They expect you to like adjust your body in midair in football and in basketball. It's very, very strange. It's like, dude, I'm trying to challenge a shot. It's not my problem if I accidentally get tangled up with the shooter after I land. That should be a no call. It should not be a, unless I literally like run into the guy directly, that should be an absolute no call. If I'm just going for a block and our feet get tangled up, that's just basketball. That's not a foul. It's basketball. It's incidental contact. Like in football, when you're trying to make a tackle and somebody over the middle, I'm not responsible for how that person chooses to adjust their body. I'm just trying to separate man from ball. And because of this whole CTE thing, and I can get into that too, they're like punishing you for hitting people in the head when before it was just, they're just trying to make a play on the ball, dude. Or again, they're trying to separate man from ball. That's football. But now they want you to like, oh, not hit you, lean with the shoulder, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, it's whatever, man. The whole thing is so stupid. Like, if they want to really punish these safeties and whatnot for making plays that were normal plays 20 years ago, then they should be taking some of these old dudes out of the Hall of Fame. Take Ronnie Lott out of the Hall of Fame. Take Sean Taylor. Stop acting like y'all care about Sean Taylor's legacy. Y'all don't really care about Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor is one of the hardest hitters. And most of it, if you look at some of the type of hits he laid out people with, those are all 15-yard penalties by today's standards, dude. But I don't want to get like crossover to sports. I'm just saying that in basketball, when you challenge a shot, where I land should not be important. They started doing that nonsense because they said Bruce Bowen was intentionally uh, sticking his feet under people, trying to hurt people or whatever. I, I still don't even know if that's even true that he did that. And then of course Kawhi Leonard in that playoff game, he like messed up his knee because somebody put his foot underneath him after he you know landed or whatever. Now I don't know if people are doing that on purpose. I don't know if they are. I don't think they are. I think people just trying to challenge the shot. But you know, there's ways of handling that if people are doing that on purpose. I don't think most people do that on purpose. But I know I never did. I know I never like tried to challenge a shot. I saw the guy jump and I would stick my leg in there. I never did that. So, and I think that's very hard. Like I said, I think it's very kind of hard to do because your first instinct is to challenge the shot, and when you're like, and then you're like looking at the ball trying to get a rebound. So it's like it's very hard to kind of do all that and be like, oh yeah, I want to stick my foot underneath the person too. Like it's just you would just have to be super calculated to do something like that. Anyway, I just think that you just have to deal with that, man. The game was a lot better when you can play real defense, dude. Like, and you just can't play real defense right now, and it just looks bad, and it just looks very manipulative when you just like we just had fair rules where you could just guard the person normally. And I wouldn't even care about the 3 point shot because honestly, if you were able to guard people the way you used to be able to guard people, nobody would be shooting threes the way they're shooting them because there'd be so many misses, it wouldn't be worth it anymore. But you can't challenge people, so uh, you can't play real defense on people. So they're just going off and they're just like, you just it's just a three ball fest and it's boring, dude. If I grew up watching basketball the way it is now, I don't think I would have liked sports the way I like it today. I like sports because of the way I grew up watching it in the early 90s, where football was physical, you knock dudes clean off, and basketball was cool too. Like, like it was physical. It was like there was there was a place for a role player who wasn't a great offensive player because he played great defense. You can't have that now. Like you basically are forcing every. It's more important now to have a guy that can score, even if he doesn't play any defense, than it is a guy who plays great defense that can't score. Obviously, you want the best of both worlds, but usually before they would take the defensive guy before they take the guy who was a liability on offense. I mean, on defense. Now they really don't care, and it's just bad basketball. Like I mean, and for the first time with the ratings and with the people who are just like talking about basketball, they're finally acknowledging it, and it's just like, thank God, dude. Because it's only when these media types talk about it when things finally change. So hopefully, and that's not even the only thing that's wrong with basketball. It's the traveling, it's the double dribbling that they don't call, or they're very selective when they call it. So it's like when they actually call it, it's almost like, dude, you might as well not even call it because you missed like the last three or four. So when they finally call it, it's almost like there's no what's the point of even calling it now? It's so selective. It's just bad. You got to be on top of it, or they got to call it enough where it seems like it's consistently called, but they don't call it like that. It's this whole pace and space era is just bad for basketball. I don't know who thought it was a good idea. I never liked it. You got to be able to play defense. Like sports is supposed to be physical, and it's not right now. It's very very soft. They won't practice in football. They won't practice in basketball, and it shows, man. It's just you know defense is supposed to be like a rhythm thing. You practice it. You practice rotations, and you wouldn't see people just get all these like easy shots all the time or whatever. If you're able to actually like kind of practice your double teams and everything like that, like you gotta rep those things, man. You gotta know where you're supposed to be on certain spots when certain people get the ball. People got to be able, your teammates got to be able to see what you do well and what you don't do well, and to know if you need help or if you don't need help or whatever. So anyway, long story short, or long story long, I'm just happy that people are finally seeing what I've been talking about, and I hope things change soon. They probably will change soon because the ratings are bad and TV networks are going to complain. So hopefully they get back to the physicality of basketball and just sports in general, man. Just it needs to get better. If you want people to watch sports, it needs to get better. Um, and I kind of brought this up already. I was watching a little bit of the Ravens Bengals game, and I gotta tell you, man, these refs are bad, man. Like the Ravens won, and Bengals went for two at the end of the game, which was a terrible decision, by the way. So I'm almost like kind of conflicted because they should have kicked the extra point to send it to try to send it to overtime. But they go for two. The guy's clearly being held. The second tight end is clearly being held. They don't call it. Joe Burrow is hitting his face mask after the throws out. They don't call it. I just the NFL clearly like they try to market themselves as this anybody can win league, uh, any given Sunday, all that nonsense or whatever. Dude, every week they're trying to help out Lamar, help out Patrick Mahomes. They're clearly the two biggest stars in football right now. And they like the Ravens, I'm not saying they would have lost, but it was very like they shouldn't have won that game. I mean, they shouldn't have gotten the win that way. and it's like every week with especially with the Chiefs, man, because the Chiefs, their O line, first of all, never gets called for a hole, never gets called for a hole, or if they do, it's very rare. It's very rare, and then they're good, but they're not that good, and also, uh, they they false start all the time, and they never call it, and that's not like a subjective penalty. That's just is the guy moving before the ball is snapped. If it happens, call it. If not, don't call it. And they just don't call it. They let these guys get these like half a second snaps. Like they used to call these things, and they just don't do it anymore. And it's bad. And I think people, especially with people betting on certain teams and losing money and everything like that, people are just tired of it. Like, you got to be honest about what's going on, dude. Like, so I don't know, man. I just feel like sports is in a very dangerous place because it's just not, the product is not as good. They're catering to these players. Players don't want to practice. Players don't want to do certain things. And unfortunately, it's like the fans don't appreciate every player that's like really doing well. So it's like they want to see certain guys do well. And like, like I feel like Nikola Jokic is the best player in basketball, and it's not even close. He's, for me, the only player that's really worth like really paying attention to every night. And it's like, unless you live in Denver, nobody really feels that way. They want to still watch LeBron at 39, 40 years old. They still want to watch Kevin Durant. He's like 35 years old. People are old, man. I don't want to see these guys in their old age and not entertaining like they used to be, man. Jokic is in his prime. And he's putting up ridiculous numbers, and that's the type of player I want to watch. So anyway, that's how I'm feeling about things. I appreciate y'all listening. See ya.